June beetle. Hi, welcome back to the garden. Today we're going to start harvesting carrot seeds. It's a two-step process. These are still being pollinated, but they're tightening up. We're going to go ahead and clip them. We're going to put them in the greenhouse and we're going to dry them. And this one's clustering up. So the seeds, you're going to have really nice seed pods right here. Once they're dry, we'll come back and harvest off of them. But let's get some of these picked. And just like everything else in the garden, now you need to make choices. I'm not going to leave these here for every one of these to turn. And this is a perfect opportunity to talk about some of the questions I've been getting recently about deep mulch, about nitrogen. Now the earth is a seed bank and it wants to stay covered. I guarantee you there's 4 inches of gravel underneath this concrete and the seeds find a way to grow. A tilled up bare garden is actually a seed bank, which makes sense. Seeds just fall on the ground. Birds come over and drop seeds. Everything puts seeds out. The ground wants to stay covered. You cover the ground, you can pick what seeds grow. So that's one of the benefits of having a mulch. We're going to have so many seeds out of what's already turned, we're going to be able to afford to take the rest of this out. And that's another great benefit of having the compost pile so close to the garden. We also got a nice stock of kale seeds that are drying. Got a nice little batch of beet seeds. Those beets have been in the ground for over a year. Have the expensive spice coriander, well, cilantro. We're going to hang and dry that also. And these seeds right here have dried on the vine. Now that green we could have just chopped and dropped, but there are a lot of potential seeds in there, and we really don't need to add to the seed bank that's underneath here. Now I got 4 different kinds of seeds in this tote. Let me go up to the greenhouse and separate them into their individual totes. Now I'm getting a sense of what we have to work with this weekend. We are going to plant corn in here. We do have a few seeds that we still want to gather, but I needed to separate those. That tote was getting kind of full. And that all came out of the cold frame that we planted this fall. Once they're all good and dry, we'll go ahead and get the seeds out of those pods. I'll show you how to do that, but that'll be in an upcoming episode. But check this out. I walked past this 4 times this morning and didn't even notice it. Now I noticed it, and I'm about ready to take a break. Even though it's a beautiful Sunday morning, that sun is starting to get warm. This is not our biggest blueberry bush, but look at those berries. I've been kind of watching these. We're going to get a little handful plus 1. And we still have a couple on here. And this is a prime example of nitrogen. And we wanted to add some green to the compost pile. Add some nitrogen. That's another question that I've been getting quite a bit of. Nitrogen in your garden. How are blueberries and nitrogen connected? Well, I had to grab a blackberry also. It's back in there where the birds didn't see it. How are blueberries and nitrogen connected? Well, obviously we need nitrogen to make your plants green. But what is nitrogen, and what forms do they need it in? I mean, the air we're breathing is made up mostly of nitrogen. Blueberries like ammonium. You know, the NH4? All your brassicas like nitrates, which is NO2. So it depends on what kind of nitrogen you're talking about. I get the question. Wood chips binds up nitrogen. Deep mulch binds up nitrogen. I got scolded for not bringing out a container to pick. Now the tomatoes are turning, and I've got hundreds of them. I'm gonna be swamped. Ooh, I see another one. Everything that's starting to turn to blush, I'm gonna bring in. Oh, I'm gonna have to go get a container because there's another one. I'm sorry, I came out here to talk to you about nitrogen in the deep mulch, and I started picking tomatoes. And eating blueberries. Well, that's what happens in the garden. Sometimes a shiny object distracts you. We'll get back to nitrogen here in just a second. Now the earth is a seed bank, and it wants to stay covered. And the earth is covered in dirt. And what is dirt? It's different sized particles of rock. Sand, silt, and clay. And in that sand, silt, and clay, you have all the nutrients a plant needs. All 42 of them. But it takes life in the soil to make those plants soluble. And that's why I like to use the deep mulch. It covers the soil, it promotes that life, and it allows us to harvest like this. And yes, I did go get a bowl. I'm telling you, the hardest part of deep mulch is harvesting. That one probably could have come in yesterday. I also had a question about tomatoes and why they're taking so long to turn. Just a little patience. They do start turning. Oh, cucumbers. Nice little cucumber. And by covering it in mulch, you can decide which of those seeds actually germinate and grow. What we've already talked about is the ground is a seed bank and it wants to stay covered. Your mulch just covers the ground. Now it all works together. Yes, if you put mulch on top and you till it in, there's chemical reactions and it does bind up nitrogen. But like we already talked about, what nitrogen does it bind up? And what nitrogen does your plants need? And how do your plants get that nitrogen? So by covering in an organic material, we did the temperature test with my wife's candy thermometer and I lived to tell the tale. Well, what kind of mulch do I use? I use whatever organic material I can get my hands on, whether it's hay, straw, wood chips, leaves, fresh mown grass. I just mix it all together, lay it on top 4 inches thick or thicker. And the fewer chemicals you use, the better off you're going to be. Oh, I think we're going to have to take some peppers. Take a couple of you, too. Get these bigger ones out. That's got a little damage, so I'm going to take it out. I'm going to go ahead and prune that bottom leaf off, too. That'd be all right. Cut and drop. I'm going to do the same thing with the pepper. Just going to add it to the mulch. And that's what we use for mulch. There's a nice little batch of peppers. See if there's anything else that needs to come in. Well, I found another one that needed to come in. And another tomato that started to turn. Well, I sure hope that helps some folks. It sure turned the light bulb on for me when I first learned about it. And if you'd like to learn a lot more about the life in the soil, click that link right there and I'll meet you right back in the garden. If you'd like to learn all about the deep mulch and composting, click that link right there and I'll meet you right back in the garden. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant. Let's go plant garden.